I've still got to mute everything. God, I'm slacking. I'm not really slacking because I've had everything else done except for this. But yeah, I'm ready now.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton, and we invite you to recline back your chairs and to ease all of your cares as we bring to you our NXT review. And I gotta say, guys, after what I would call the worst takeover of all time, just in terms of booking decisions and things of that nature, even though the in-ring product was pretty solid throughout the night, I would say NXT rebounded here with a very solid episode. I didn't agree with, every little thing that NXT did here, but for the most part, I would say they laid the groundwork for a lot of exciting stuff. We've got a very nice return, debut of a new faction. Well, I mean, not really a debut. They just made it formal, if you will. And, some things are really shaping up on NXT. Partner, what do you think about the episode tonight?
You know what? This show had good vibes. I definitely feel like it made me happier and put more of a smile on my face than Takeover did. Not that Takeover was awful. It was just, like you said, the worst in an otherwise really good group of shows. But that being said, that is not to say that this show was without flaws. This show really did feel like NXT was trying its damnedest to escape from the horrible decision making that haunted Takeover War Games, and they just couldn't run fast enough because there was more of it on this show.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I gotta say, for me, I don't really have any heats of the night per se, although I feel like you're gonna beg to differ given how NXT ended. I have two nitpicks. So I liked what we did last time when we actually shared space, where we kind of volleyed the ball. So I'll go first on one, and then if you have anything you can share, and then I can share my other nitpick. Mm-hmm. The first nitpick I want to share, I'm scared about the prospect of Isaiah Swerve Scott turning heel. It's very clear to me that they're building Jake Atlas back up. Yeah. They're kind of telling I got knocked down once, but I'm ready to get back up and do the damn thing again kind of story with him, which is fine. I have nothing against that in principle. And you guys know I'm with Jake Atlas the way I used to be with Sami Zayn. I can acknowledge the dude's a really good worker. He's just not my cup of tea personally. Like, even if we're just keeping it delimited to the cruiserweight division, could be a face of that division. And for, I would even say like a month or two, I have been hammering home on here that I see Swerve as a guy that can beat Escobar WrestleMania weekend takeover and get a huge pop, especially if they're able to get people, which I doubt they will. But, the CWC, kind of arena has been really good for them, I think. So I think he'd get a loud pop there. I think they could tell a brilliant story given their past encounters. If they're turning Swerve heel, obviously heel versus heel dynamics, that doesn't work, and I don't see Escobar turning face. So really, not only does this kind of affect Swerve in and of himself as an individuated thing, I think this also does kind of seep into, my concerns. How are they going to punctuate Escobar's reign? Because it's been such a good reign, right? And, Heyman said something to Kevin Owens in the build-up to their feud, which that's SmackDown, which we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about that this Friday, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we'll be reviewing that. He said, a champion's only as good as the contenders that, the champion puts down. I don't want Escobar to lose to some, flimsy contender. I really did like the story he and Swerve were telling. Maybe I just need to get over that the story's already been told. So I just a bit of misgiving about that, because I do see a top babyface in Swerve, and I don't like that they could be turning him heel at the expense of, continuing to build Atlas up. So that was my first nitpick of two. Do you have any heats tonight you would like to share?
You know what, dude? I do. But first of all, I actually wanted to say, oddly enough, your one heat of the night, at least the only one that you've listed so far, is not even something that I have a problem with. It's kind of funny actually, because I think I have a couple things that I will, knit my picks with, or pick my knits with, or however you want to put it. But none of them are the idea of Swerve turning heel. Frankly, I'm excited by the prospect of Swerve turning heel because, in my opinion, heel kill shot was probably like the best, or at least the second best, behind maybe heel Phoenix thing going on in Lucha Underground season 4, and I missed that, and I loved that, and I don't have a problem with getting it again. And I think that I also kind of have that mentality of you can't be a top babyface unless you've gotten a really, really compelling heel run out of the way anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
So the prospect of Swerve turning heel, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would have loved it if they would just pushed him as a fucking superstar from day one, but if they're not going to do that, I really don't have a problem with them turning him heel and letting him kind of have more kind of creativity and be able to explore his character in more creative ways. So that's that. Really, I'm kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm realizing that the entirety of my heat of the night or nitpick or whatever you want to call it is just that I feel like NXT is pushing the wrong people. Honestly, like it's really silly to me that they're pushing Jake Atlas over someone like Swerve, and that they're pushing Raquel Gonzalez literally at all. It's really frustrating when we as fans seem to have our finger on the pulse of who are the sort of talented wrestlers, who are the potential draws, who are the people that you can make the most money with, than the people that work closer with them, than the people who maybe are so in the bubble that they don't really see things from a more of a third person perspective. Because really, I just think Raquel Gonzalez is fucking garbage. I mean, the match tonight did nothing to dissuade me of that belief. If anything, it made me double down on it, because she did barely anything, and Ember Moon had to work her ass off to tell any kind of compelling story in that match whatsoever. Jake Atlas tonight I thought looked slow and a little sloppy. I wasn't impressed with him at all, and yet he still got a win with some bullshit reversal that looked beautiful to be set up by Swerve, and then got reversed with very little effort from Atlas, and he just won with it. And yeah, I again, we kind of continue experiencing this weird phenomenon where Tommaso Ciampa is, like, his entire gimmick is guy who kicks people when they're already down. Like he beats Thatcher very soon after Thatcher taps out for the first time in NXT. And now he comes out here and he beats Grimes 3 days even after he loses what should ultimately be the blow-off match to his feud with Loomis. It's like some of the decisions that are being made here, like I said, it's like they tried to run away from them and they just weren't fast enough, and they kept up with them because they were lingering on this show just as much, or not as much as they were on Sunday, but they were definitely still here in pretty huge degrees.
Yeah, you already kind of vocalized my other nitpick. I was going to touch on Grimes Champa. So since you already did, I'm honestly not going to waste the breath. Yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share personally?
I think another reason why I'm not disappointed about Swerve is because in my mind, I kind of like, I think someone might have even mentioned in chat the idea of Escobar versus Devlin. I don't think that's even going to happen. I think that we're going to have another babyface beat Escobar for the Cruiserweight title. And I think that person will be the one that eventually defends the title against Devlin. At that point, I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to win that. I don't know if NXT, because at this point, I feel like I can no longer just say, well, this is the decision that makes the most sense, so that's what NXT is going to do, because NXT hasn't been making decisions that make sense lately. So I don't feel like I can even say that. So you never know. But I do think that Escobar is going to lose the title to a babyface, who was most likely going to be the one that defends that title then against Devlin to unify the Cruiserweight titles. But at that point, that would be the person that I would want for Swerve to beat for the title. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm going to have to backtrack on something I just said. I actually do have another nitpick, and I have to thank
then I'm glad that I continue talking to give you time to think of it.
Yeah, because Foster brought this in my mind. I really don't like the Kushida tag match between Leon Ruff and now we know Kushida versus Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory, when I feel like Loomis should have had that spot. Because again, when you're talking about pushing the wrong people, I genuinely don't have a problem with Kushida personally, but like Kushida wasn't.
That's a great point though,
night.
because like Kushida's doing nothing. I mean, I guess his whole new character thing is that he's just a little more aggressive, a little angrier, a little more, pissed off. But Loomis is coming off of a really strong win at a takeover over a really credible guy. It doesn't make any sense that he's not in any title pictures right now.
Yeah, that's what bothers me too, man. I mean, even just looking at, like, I get that Cameron Grimes' stock has taken a hit, especially because he already beat him in, like, that haunted house match and everything. But it was at a takeover. It was a stip match, and Loomis won it. Kushida was nowhere to be found on TakeOver on Sunday, and yet they get him involved with Gargano in Theory and not Loomis, the guy who really, and that's the thing, it goes back to your, I don't know if you classify it as a full-blown heat of the night or just as a nitpick, but just NXT pushing.
Yeah, truthfully, I don't even know what to classify it as either, because I feel like it's just me complaining that NXT isn't doing what I want, and I don't know what to call that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me that a guy that should be on the rise, and really, again, this goes back to, just have it make sense. I would like to think I'd be saying this even if I wasn't a fan of Loomis. How do you get a guy that was promoted on your big show and win, not even be mentioned on NXT tonight from my recollection, and except maybe by commentary in relation to Grimes' match with Champa, and then you have Kushida swoop in and take this spot when I feel like Loomis is primed. And see, the crazy thing is, and again, nothing personal against Kushida, I just don't like him, and I gotta be honest, like, Loomis's personality, or you could say lack thereof, because he just stares, right, is great comedic foil for a guy that's like all over the place like Johnny, a guy that's timid and anxious like Ruff, but is still like, trying to prove himself. But Kushida is just such a weird foil for the dynamics at play. Like, I feel like Loomis fits in so much more smoothly, whereas Kushida, no pun intended, given who he's tagging with next week, it's just more of a rough fit. It doesn't go as nicely, I feel like. So I feel like Loomis was really primed for that spot, and then Kushida comes in and is like, oh, I'll be your partner, and it's like, but no, I thought we were doing this. So yeah, I didn't think I'd have any more nitpicks, because I didn't want to, like, waste time necessarily, but yeah, I just had to point that out, because that really confuses the hell out of me, if I'm honest. I don't know how you get there. It's like you went from A to C without even giving any notice to B. So that's my thoughts there. I guess you're good then on airing your complaints?
Yes, sir.
All right, then. Let us get into our NXT review. And we get a recap of War Games, and we get a Finn Balor voiceover pretty much saying, War Games is over, and, Champ is back and all that stuff, so the focus goes back on him.
I love the way you put it, too. It's time to put an end to team games.
Yes. Love that. And then we actually do open up with Finn Balor. Again, reiterating, War Games is done. No more about, teams. It's about the NXT Championship. So who's going to challenge the champ next? And Pete Dunne interrupts first, as expected, because he looked really good on Sunday. He was definitely one of the highlights of the show. And he says, you and I are very, very similar. We both traveled, all over the world, left our home countries to make something of ourselves here. And you know what? I'm glad that you're back. And he more or less insinuates, like, because now I get the chance to take the title off of you. But then Kyle O'Reilly interrupts. And Kyle's just got that very endearing charm. He is very likable. Says, oh, sorry I'm late to the party, boys. My invitation must have gotten lost in the mail. And then he talks about, how he beat Dunn and, his team at War Games. And with Finn, I broke your jaw. So give in to revenge, give in to that feeling. Let's do this dance again. Yeah. And then unexpectedly, but it very quickly becomes clear, Damien Priest interrupts. And he's like, oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time. And
just to be clear, too, I feel like the reason that it was surprising is because, like, you just fucking lost so many times in a row. What the hell makes you think you should be in the world title picture right now, dog?
Dude, exactly. This is pretty much like an inversion of, like, my problem with the whole Loomis Kushida thing. It's like the guy that's winning isn't getting the championship opportunities, and yet the guy that's losing and lost in the mid-card spot thinks like, oh,
Yeah.
let me just, punch above and get in that main event
Right.
spot.
And the thing is too, like, I don't think that what we're saying is, oh, Damian Priest sucks, he loses a lot, he shouldn't be in the world title picture. I think what we're saying is, if you have any kind of plans to put him in the world title picture, fucking protect him better, please.
Dude, I think we need to understand, just to go on, God, I don't want to really belabor this point, but just to do a bit more of a meta commentary. Like, if wrestling's a story like any other, if you're watching a story and then all of a sudden your character, which we've seen this happen on shows more often than we'd like to admit, especially ones that are long running, and that's what angers people. If you see a character do something that's out of the norm of their personality or whatever, or just outside of the trajectory where they're going, make it make sense. I said it earlier. If you like Damian Priest, cool that he's throwing his hat in the ring, but wouldn't it be a lot better if he just earned it through his narrative? If it's like you knew they were building up to this, rather than like, oh, hey, he lost, this triple threat, and he got attacked, and he failed to reclaim the North American title. Guess he can try the world title now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
well, and the thing is, though, like, we would find out eventually that NXT never had any actual plans for Damian Priest to challenge for the world title. They just shoved him into this slot so that he could have an interaction with Scarlett that would lead to an eventual match between him and Cross, right? So that's like, I get where they wanted to end up, but you really need to find less convoluted ways of getting there.
Exactly. Like, I honestly would have preferred, it would have been more low-key, admittedly, but I would have preferred Priest just giving a promo, talking about War Games, talking about where he's going to go from here, and right as he's about, to give his thoughts about where he's going, Scarlett interrupts, comes face-to-face with him, maybe even just smiles and walks off, and, I don't know, then maybe, Cross attacks or something. I just feel like you went on, and I think you said it best, you went on a convoluted path to get there, and it could have been a lot more straightforward. But yeah, Priest, says that he wants a shot at Balor. Then,
I think one other way to kind of solve this problem is to just have more guys come out. Like, if it's just done O'Reilly and Priest, it's like Priest is the clearly, like, he's standing out. He had like a sore thumb because he doesn't belong here as far as like credibility wise. But if you would have had the entire Undisputed Era come out, or even like the three guys that aren't injured, because from what I understand, Bobby Fish is injured. And if you would have had those three guys come out, and Dunn and Loomis and Grimes, like a bunch of guys, including guys who lost, and Priest, then we make sense. And then you could have the same exact spot with Balor going up the ramp and Scarlett confronting him, and then Priest could have been the one and only person to talk shit to Scarlett, and that would have been why Cross went after him. That's all you would have needed to do, is just fill it with more people. And then maybe you could have done a battle royal, or better yet, you could have done some kind of crazy like elimination match, or like a gauntlet or something like that. You could have gotten, really creative, really fun. You could have, hell, if you do a gauntlet match, those tend to do really well with ratings. That would have been a good ratings boom too. But no, they're just like, we really just want Priest versus Cross, and we really want the world title contenders to be Dunn and O'Reilly. So we're going to have the match between those guys, and then Cross and Priest. So like they use this, it's like, I think the problem is that it makes it feel like the show is written, which like we all know the show's written, but we should never feel like, oh, so the reason this happened was because it was written that way. Like that should never cross our minds while we're watching it.
Right, yeah, it should all feel very organic, like a natural flow of events happening before us on the screen.
Yeah, like that would have been a way to have us, first of all, not think like, why is Priest here? He's a loser. So like you make Priest look better by associating a bunch of other people in the same picture and not singling out Priest as like the lone loser. Although I'd like, Dunn technically lost too, but he looked like a fucking beast in the match that he lost. Whereas Priest has been losing a lot lately, including, I think, didn't he even lose, or actually, I forget. Who did Gargano pin on Sunday? Do you remember?
He did pin Ruff.
Okay, well, that's good at least. So they've protected Damien a little bit, but still, it's like, you couldn't, I think Leon Ruff is maybe a little part of the problem here too, because it's like, really, Damien, like you couldn't overcome these two little tiny guys when you're this like 6'6" monster. You know what I mean? So like Ruff and Gargano are part of the problem in as far as Priest's credibility goes, but literally just by having a whole group of people come out and having Priest be the only one to have the balls to stand up to Scarlett and Cross, that makes him look like a badass. But as it is, he kind of looks like a badass because he still did it. but it was like he was like the only guy left in the ring. Like I think maybe it was him and Dunn's entire character right now is that he's a coward, so that's really nothing. And like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they could have handled this so many better ways, and they handled it in one of the worst ways that they could have. And all it really made us do was be like, why is Dunn or why is Priest out here at all? And then we would find out later, and then it made us think like, oh, because it was written that way. And that's like, again, that's I think the big problem here is that we should never be thinking outside of the fourth wall while we're watching the show. We should never be thinking like, oh, they did this to set up that from a writing perspective. We should be thinking like, oh man, this dude's gonna kick this guy's ass. Like we shouldn't be kind of taking that step back and having those moments of disconnect from the product. We should be fully, engrossed in the product the whole time, and they could write it in a way that would have kept us there, but they didn't.
Exactly. I think that was all very well said. I think we can move on from this segment because, again, as we noted, Priest does call out Scarlett because Balor's walking up, the music hits, he has a stare down with Scarlett, and he's like, "Oh, let me guess, TikTok."
TikTok, yeah.
Well, you send Cross a message when he's ready. I'm ready, and he just kind of walks off. Then Priest calls.
I loved that. Dude, Balor as champion is so good. And even like back in the day, I do feel like his reign went on for too long, but he's so good at being that babyface badass champion who is like the representative of the brand without it being corny.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I loved how he just let those guys argue amongst themselves. And he said, January, I think he said
January 6th.
Okay, so he did say January 6th. I wasn't wrong about that.
Yeah, it's not a takeover. It actually is like a special NXT episode like Halloween Havoc. It's called New Year's Evil.
Dude, I really hope NXT is just skipping all that recap shit this year. Maybe they're still going to try and fit it in, but it's nice to actually have content to anticipate.
You got to remember, New Year's Eve lies on a Wednesday, so I'm guessing that'll be their recap episode.
Yeah, we may just skip that week. I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye out, guys.
Yep.
But yeah, like
maybe they learned from last year with how they did a recap episode and lost all their ratings and basically never fucking recovered after that. So maybe they learned that they shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, that'd be nice. They should really, if you want to recap, you should make it some kind of network special or something. Give it kind of a docu spin or some shit.
I mean, dude, they could be way more chill about it and just like, as like commercial bumpers, like before and after you go to commercial, spend 30 seconds to a minute highlighting the year from the beginning to end. Like, before you go to your first, or really what you could do is you do your intro and then you show a quick 30-second recap of like one of the first cool moments of the year, and then you get into the show, and then before you go into your next commercial, or I guess it would be the first commercial, you do a 30-second to a minute recap of something else that happened a little bit further down the line in the year, and you work your way up to more recent. Like it's not hard to be able to kind of juggle a recap show with an actual wrestling show, but when you dedicate an entire show to just being a recap, you have no viewership potential.
Right. I think what you're suggesting, at least the way it sounds to me, is like what they did with Drew McIntyre very recently on that, and that kind of weird thing they did on Raw, where it's just like, oh, let's take a peek at his year, winning the Rumble, winning WrestleMania, but you still had show. You just kind of peppered that stuff
exactly.
in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
And apparently I was off by a day. New Year's Eve is on a Thursday, so the 30th would be what that NXT is then.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they decide to do. Hopefully they actually decide on content, because that'd be nice.
I know, and that's the thing too, is like their viewership cut in half, if I remember correctly. I actually have a spreadsheet. Of course I have a fucking spreadsheet. Think about it, it's me. It didn't quite cut in half, but on the Christmas episode of NXT, AEW didn't even run a show because they were like, it's Christmas, we're not going to run a show, because they were still doing live stuff, and I don't know if NXT was. But on the Christmas episode of NXT last year, they got 831,000 viewers, and then on the recap show, they were at 548. Oof.
Yeah, damn.
It killed them. And they never, dude, the next time that they hit 800K after that, actually, I don't know if they have. I don't know if they've hit 800K since then. I couldn't, maybe, it was probably on those the weeks where they ran on Tuesdays unopposed. It was probably the next time that they were over 800K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to see what they do on that. All right, to get to the next segment now. We have Pete Dunne backstage. He's looking to be interviewed about the whole Finn Balor altercation, but then Killian Dane suddenly attacks. You know, you tried to end
that
my
was
career,
actually funny because Mackenzie was like, Pete Dunne, what is next for you? Or I think she might have actually said, excuse me, what is next for Pete Dunne? Like that, like she was like asking, like, what's next for you? And Killian Dane was just like, oh, I've got your answer.
Yeah.
Try and end my career, will ya?
Yeah, it was a very personal attack. Obviously, Killian Dane, I'm kind of meh on, so we all knew where this is going, and I'm just like, I pretty much did a done shrug about it all.
Yeah, I would say that this led to one of the two most boring matches of the night.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Atlas versus Swerve was next. We already kind of touched on this in the first segment. Swerve just moves like nobody else.
I love Swerve so much. He's so good. It makes me want to cry.
He is immensely talented. Again, the story though is, Jake Atlas is being built back up, which,
Why?
Again, whatever. Yeah.
Dude, here's the thing. I think you'll probably remember when we first met Jake Atlas, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I've heard a lot about this guy. I want to like him. And I did. I really did. And I still do want to like Jake Atlas. He seems like a really good dude. He seems like a good human being, like a good person in real life. I want to get behind him. I want to root for him. He just doesn't impress me at all in the ring. Like, I've never seen a match of his that I've been like, wow, that was really good. Every match I've ever seen him in was either just solid at best to like straight up boring. And like this is one of those boring Swerve matches I think I've ever seen. And I blame that entirely on Atlas because we've seen Swerve have fucking bangers.
Yeah, I mean, you put it pretty explicitly. I'm not even going to belabor the point. I pretty much copy-paste your sentiments.
Yeah.
So solid back and forth between these two. Ultimately, you already kind of noted the finish. Swerve tries for a Mahistral Cradle. Atlas kind of shifts his weight.
I love the way he got into the Mahistral Cradle, too. The way he bent the dude's elbow like he did. Like, everything about Swerve is so unique. He's such a star.
He makes moves matter. And I think that's so rare when everybody, I think, goes so fast to just get their shit in. It's not that Swerve doesn't go fast. Like, he's got speed for days. But, like, he puts meaning in them, even in the way that he sets moves up. It's different. He really distinguishes himself from his peers. And, that's why, again, and let me just clarify something, because we really had more of a back and forth on this than I anticipated. Well, one more just, like, you had a response to my nitpick. I don't have a problem with Swerve. I know that Swerve can be a great heel from the same source material that you cited.
Right, but you had like a fantasy booking plan that you really wanted to see play out.
I just really wanted to see him kind of crowned as like the top cruiserweight face on NXT.
Right.
And I don't like that they've decided that maybe even Jake Atlas will be that guy. Because here's the thing, guys. If they're doing like a redemption story with Jake Atlas, like, I got knocked down, but I'm going to get back up, and the Jake Atlas that gets back up, Santos Escobar is not going to be ready for. That scares me because, like I said, I copy-paste Ashton's sentiments. I really don't care about Jake Atlas.
Yeah.
And, like, if he's the one to end Escobar's reign, that to me is a dud. But again, I already kind of went into this in the heat of the night, so I'm not going to belabor the point.
You know what, dude, though? Low-key, I will talk about Kushida eventually, but I just want to kind of nip this in the bud. I could see Kushida potentially winning the North American title, but I think there's also a really good chance that he never wins that title, despite challenging for it at least one time, and then kind of to come back down to earth from, like, trying to flirt with his ceiling basically in NXT. He does end up being the one that wins the NXT Cruiserweight title from Escobar. I could see that happening very easily.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely keeping my mind open to that just as far as, like, a possibility is concerned.
Yeah.
But keeping it back to this match, Atlas wins, shifting his weight on the Mahistral Cradle, and then Swerve just gives him a look like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm better than this, which facts. And he walks off without shaking Atlas's hand, and I'm like, he was right. So I'm pretty much Team Swerve all the way on this.
Yeah.
We get a Champa promo. I'm already sick of old man Champa. It sucks.
I know, dude. He's just yelling at clouds. It's so dumb. And, dude, here's the funniest thing to me, right? Is that, like, if he was actually supposed to be a heel, and we were like, Tommaso Ciampa's so annoying with this new character, people could so easily just be like, ha, you got worked. He's a heel. But he's supposed to be a face.
Yeah.
It's so bad. What?
Oh God, I don't care for it, and I groaned.
There's one demographic that sees this character as a babyface, and that's boomers. It's that simple.
Restraining the ranting impulses.
Dude, do you know what the worst thing is, though? Is that boomers are the biggest demographic that watches NXT.
Oh my God.
So this really is catering to their core audience.
Yeah. I groaned when Cameron Grimes' name came out of his mouth because I knew where it was going. So we know that Cameron Grimes and Champa is happening tonight. That's great. This
is the point that you and I were just like, wow, so Champa really is just going to kick everyone while they're down, because this was the segment that you said that kind of out loud, and I was just like, oh yeah, you know what? Let's not forget he kind of just did that to Thatcher too, because Thatcher had just tapped out, and then Champa beat him when he didn't need it, and Thatcher did. And now Grimes could really use a little bit of a bounce back after losing to Loomis at TakeOver. Ciampa's just like, no, not today.
Yeah, pretty much. So after that, just to get the far away from fucking that, Imperium versus Grizzled Young Vets versus Everrise in a triple threat tag team match.
This is the other one. This match and then the Dane match were the two matches that I was just bored to tears with. And the thing is, like, I actually actively tweeted about this match and how upset I was. But I didn't literally say I'm upset about this match. I was much more passive aggressive. I said I would really love to see Grizzled Young Vets versus literally any entertaining tag team, because right now they haven't faced any yet.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, and this is coming from a guy in me that you guys know. Any long-standing viewer of the podcast, which I know our chat is kind of populated with them right now, you guys know that I used to salivate over NXT's tag division. There was actually a point where if you would have asked me, what's your favorite division in NXT? Chances are there was a time that I would have told you the tag division was my favorite
absolutely.
Division.
I mean, dude, when fucking Rude, Nakamura, and Joe were kind of trading the championship around like crazy, right after Balor's long reign, and I think towards the end of Balor's long reign even too, that was kind of during the era where it was Bayley for the longest time and then Asuka for the longest time as the women's champions, and their matches post TakeOver Respect were never really that amazing. The tag division was on fucking fire, because that was when we had the Revival and American Alpha and the Lucha Dragons and the fucking Vaudevillains. Like, they were all killing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was on a fire division. It had a lot going on. And I just feel like here, the contrast is just so stark.
Yeah, dude.
Grizzled Young Vets is the best tag team in the division. Like, easily.
I mean, I was tweeting about this. I was actively tweeting about this because I was so upset about it. And my initial tweet was about how I'd love to see them against an entertaining team. And then I tweeted, I love Grizzled Young Vets, but as long as Danny Burch holds one of the tag titles, I can't get fully excited about the inevitable tag title shot that GYV will get. And then Foster responded to my original tweet talking about wanting to see GYV against an actual entertaining tag team, basically saying, like, I want them versus Breezango. And I was like, hell yeah, that would be great. It could be Breezango. It could be Undisputed Era. It could be Legado del Fantasma. And then I was like, what other teams? And I couldn't think of any. And I said, that's about it. Because there haven't been any other entertaining tag teams in NXT this year, really. Or at least, I mean, shit, at least probably... Who, I forget. I know that Lorcan and Burch, did they beat Undisputed Era? Or no, they beat Imperium, right, for the tag titles?
No, Burch and Lorcan beat Breezango for the tag titles.
Okay, right. And then Breezango beat Imperium. Imperium beat Undisputed Era, right?
That seems correct to me.
So I would say, really, since the Undisputed Era title reign, we haven't really had like a really good overall entertaining tag title feud, because like even, Breezango, as great as they are, they were working with Imperium almost the entire time. And then they lost the titles in that random ass one-off with Lorcan and Burch.
Yeah.
So like, we really haven't had an entertaining tag title feud. I'm hoping GYV can win the titles, and then drop them to the Rascals, because I really love the Rascals. Those guys are insanely talented and super fun and entertaining, and GYV are the perfect foils to their goofy antics. So I think that's kind of my dream tag team feud in NXT right now, but I don't know how soon we can expect the Rascals to debut. Because like we've seen examples where someone will get signed and then debut within a month. Like it's a rare example, but it has happened. But we've also had many more examples where someone will get signed and debut like 7 or 8 months later, if not more. Like sometimes it takes a long time for NXT to tell them like, yeah, you're ready, go ahead. So I'm hoping that Rascals are able to show up on the product and just kind of save the tag division at this point. We need a fucking pulse, man. I can't handle more Imperium and Everrise. They're garbage.
No, and by the way, Javar's correcting us in chat. Imperium beat Riddle and Thatcher for the tag
titles.
titles.
That's right. The Broserweights, and then eventually, yeah, Riddle and Thatcher. Yeah. Okay, so obviously neither of those teams can happen right now because Riddle is on the main roster, but that was a fun thing too. But again, though, who did those guys beat for the titles?
Well, the Broserweights at the time, Dunn and Riddle, I think beat Undisputed Era. I think according.
Okay, so yeah, that was the last time that we had a fun tag title feud. It was earlier in the year, but COVID time makes it feels like it was about 8 years ago.
Yeah. And
I think my main point here is I love the Grizzled Young Vets, but I can't get into them if I don't like their opponents or if I'm not entertained by their opponents. And the Rascals are what we really need to save the NXT tag division.
And I mean, I agree, because like I just got done saying before we kind of drew the history of the tag titles, or at least the recent history, it's like night and day. Grizzled Young Vets are clearly the best team in that division. They need a team that can bring out the best in them. And I think Rascals GYV is the closest that you can approximate American Alpha Revival when they had their series of matches. Like, I just think it could be a lot of fun seeing those two teams interact. So the sooner we get to that, the better. After that, so GYV, by the way, does win with Ticket to Mayhem. That double
dude, that move looks so sick.
I really fucking love them. GYV, I think, might even make my Fave 5 next quarter, but I think it also really depends on the booking, because I really want to care about them more than just the in-ring stuff.
Exactly. That's the thing, too, is like, let Zach Gibson cut promos before every match. There's literally no reason not to.
You know why they might be holding off? I mean, because again, it does seem like for the moment, I expect it to be very short term, but for the moment, Grizzled Young Vets seem to be positioned as baby faces. Maybe they don't trust Zach Gibson to cut a baby face promo. I mean, to me, yeah, because when you think about when they came back, who confronted them? Imperium, who have absolutely been heel, and then everyone's kind of sticking their nose in the
it's weird, though, because I just see it as 3 heel teams here. I just feel like Everrise, Imperium, and GYV are all just heel teams. So this might be another like weird Champa example where NXT wants these guys to be presented as baby faces and put them against heels, but we just can't kind of see that. We just never see them as anything other than heels with their character.
Right. Yeah.
Then again, maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way, but I feel like this is like a 3 heel match, which was another reason why I thought it was weird.
I feel like Craig said something to that effect earlier, but to me, the way I read it was GYV or faces. So here's the thing. If you're right, it's a problem, because a 3 heel triple threat tag match, what? And then if I'm right, not necessarily a problem, but, I don't know, maybe Drake could have better babyface promo, because I just feel like the moment a mic hits Zach's lips, maybe not with the CWC arena, but if we actually had live crowds, and this could actually be a benefit of the pandemic, if we actually had live crowds, I don't know if they'd let them get a genuine babyface pop, because I think people are so used to taking their shoes off for Zach Gibson and giving him that heat that I don't know if they'd give it a fair shake. Right. So maybe Zach is kind of like the inverse Bailey, where like they're doing this short-term babyface turn. If I'm reading it correctly now, I want to emphasize that, because you clearly had a different interpretation at a time when they're kind of in control of it. Same way with Bailey turning heel, because I don't know, maybe it would have been the Becky effect, where if she tried turning heel, the crowd would have been behind her. Right. Especially when you think about it, she pretty much did it, well, not at the expense of the Bailey buddies, but also at the expense of Charlotte, who had just recently won the title. I'm guessing people would have been more sympathetic to Bailey. So you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But anyway, we get a Casualties of War Games kind of video package. I actually like that they did this. I thought this was a clever spin. It was kind of a retrospective. It kind of happened, and now they're looking back on it. And I thought it was a step up from an actual recap. We've already seen it. I don't really want to see it again. But them being more intimate with it, talking about how War Games changes you, the scars that they suffered, Candace breaking her arm, stuff like that. I thought it was a really nice look. I thought it was cool that they did this. Do you have anything you want to say about this?
What are we talking about now?
this casualties of War Games, where the War Games participants were talking about the match.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even have that in my notes. That's why I was confused. I didn't catch everything. I know Dakota Kai, I think, said that she would be out for a little while. Candice has the broken arm. I think it's probably her radius, I think. But was it anyone else other than those two?
Ember talked, Kyle talked, so they pretty much like all gave their
right. But I'm more
perspective.
thinking like, are we dealing with any actual injuries that's going to cause people to miss time?
Oh no, not that I'm aware. Well, I mean, Fish, which you already mentioned earlier.
Fish, right? That's true. Fish is a good point. So those three. So it's Candice, Dakota, and Fish, right?
Yeah, Candice, Dakota, and Fish.
I hope Dakota recovers soon because like I feel so bad for that woman. She's missed so much time with injuries. I just hope she's able to come back soon.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Fucking Candice don't give a shit. She was on the show all kinds of places tonight. She was on multiple segments tonight.
That actually makes me happy because I think people still wanted her to be used on TV, kind of mentoring Indy, and I'm all for that. Because you know what, this is
let her be Indy's manager while she's injured.
Yeah, because then when you build Indy up, you know what you do. Candice gets healthy. You can have another NXT Tag Team Challenge for the women's tag titles.
Yes, and dude, that's like one of the highest rated segments in NXT on USA history. The Tegan and Shotzi versus Sasha and Bayley match.
Yeah.
That match was super well. Did super well in the ratings.
I mean, I'm not even going to say that they're not using the women's tag titles. I mean, clearly they are with the whole Shayna and Nia versus Asuka and Lana thing. But, I mean, goddamn, if we ever wanted it to be a fun championship again, you get Candice and Indy on there. Again, Candice is another one. Actually, we're going to get to that in a little bit. I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. So we get this Casualties of War Games. Then we get a Toni Storm promo, more or less saying, like, I came back for one reason, the NXT Women's Championship, but Ember stole my spotlight. But, you know, and she more or less is like, I'm going to take it back, and, you know, before long, I will be the next NXT Women's Champion. Then Io comes into frame. And Io is just absolutely adorable. Yeah, she's fucking adorable. She's like, you know, Tony, I've got no problem with you. I just don't like you. And then forearms are in the face, and they begin brawling. Since you're the bigger Io fan between the two of us, how did this segment make you feel, man?
I just love Io. I mean, that's that's an unwavering fact. I just love Io Shirai. I love that. I feel like she and I maybe share a brain in some ways because that's kind of how I feel about Toni too. Is like, I don't have a problem with her. She seems like a cool enough lady. I just think she sucks. You know, it's like, I don't actually think she sucks. I think she's a good wrestler and everything. But yeah, like I just don't like her. I'm pretty much right there with Io. I just don't like Toni Storm, and I don't even like her when she's a face. So it's not like I'm, you know, it's not like a heel face getting worked kind of thing either. It's just I just am not a big fan of Toni Storm, and Io is my fucking spirit animal. That's all it takes.
There you go. So they brawl all the way out to the arena, get close to the ring. Io's about to moonsault Toni because she gets the double knees in the corner. Tony's like, not today, Io-san. But then Ember assaults her, throws her back in the ring, and I love what she says to Toni. She says, "This is what's called a receipt, baby," and puts her back in the ring, and then Io plants her with the moonsault. So Ember gets the last laugh, at least here. Her night would take a bit of a dip, but we'll get to that. Then we get Champa Grimes. I'm just going to be truthful with everybody. I really don't want to talk about this that long. We already kind of talked about it, especially in the first segment.
Again, though, dude, I just want to point out Champa won in, like, a kind of heelish way here. Like, he runs away from Grimes. Grimes goes to chase him, and then Champa runs back into the ring, and as Grimes is trying to get back into the ring, Champa hits him with Willow's Bell. Like, how was that anything but heelish?
I mean, you could read it as heelish, and I think that's justified to a point, but I think context is needed. He went out of the ring to avoid the cave-in, so it was more like not necessarily a counter, but more like, oh shit, I'm about to be hit with the finish.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I can appreciate people wrestling smart, but in this specific instance, the cave-in is a move that people love to see and that pops people. So Champa, in rolling out of the ring right as that move was about to happen, robbed people of something they wanted to see. Again, still heelish.
Maybe that also means Grimes is due for a babyface run. I don't know.
I think that this might have been an early hint at both of these guys double switching.
Maybe. I don't want to get that far ahead of myself because with where Cameron Grimes is right now, I don't know. It was a good back and forth matchup. They obviously, put the work in. I'm not displeased about that. But I think this makes Thatcher, it doesn't necessarily make Thatcher look incompetent. it really just makes Champa look more OP than anything.
Champa's really been on a roll lately. I will say, though, also, something else that kind of grinded my gears, Alicia Taylor and Wade Barrett both said Champa multiple times.
See, to be honest, I didn't catch that. Or if I did, because I know how you are with
I felt like they were doing so well for so long, and now tonight, it's just like we've regressed completely.
Yeah. They're never going to fully get that man's name right. Maybe that is why, he'll just be a perpetual heel, at least in our eyes. But like you said, Champa did win with Willow's Bell. Thatcher's distraction via Russ Taylor, which is exciting.
Excuse me, sir. It's Tyler Rust now.
Oh, it's Tyler Rust. Excuse me. My apologies there. Tyler Rust.
Dude, you got to understand, I did the exact same thing with Foster earlier in chat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did.
He said, and Mr. Rust Taylor has a new manager. And I said, excuse me, sir, that's Tyler Rust to you.
Yes. But no, it really is exciting that they're using a new talent in this context. Yeah. I just wish that Thatcher had more credibility. I think that's another reason why I was bummed that he didn't win a takeover, even though I predicted Champa accurately.
Because, here's the thing. If Thatcher would have won, it would have, made sense for Champa to win this match to try and bounce back, and then Thatcher would have had all the power in the relationship, but right now, Thatcher just looks like Ciampa's bitch.
And yet, that's a problem, though, when you're running your own school, because here's the thing. Obviously, we know the school is, a gimmick to take liberties with students, which, again, is why I say that Thatcher's one of the more brilliant heels going on right now in a really fucked up way, which I don't think they're even tapping into for maximum effect, but that's another commentary for another time.
They don't know.
But... yeah, if I'm a student of Thatcher's, I'm kind of side-eyeing him, and I'm like, so wait, are you teaching me how to eat pins? It's bad.
Oh, man. How do we justify in kayfabe the fact that Al Snow runs a wrestling school?
Yeah, exactly, right? Javaris doesn't even know why Ciampa's winning these matches. To be perfectly honest, Javaris, and I can't speak for you, Ashton, I was a bit surprised that Ciampa's music didn't hit in the opening segment. That, he didn't, want a piece of that.
Yeah, right! Again, they should have had so many more people out there. It should have been, 10 or 12 or something crazy like that. Dude, they could have done, a fucking Lucha Underground thing. They could have had, 12 people out there, and you do a 6-on-6 match, right? And then the winning team faces each other in a 6-pack challenge. That would have been fucking dope.
Yeah. No passion for possibility there, I guess.
I know. It's so sad. I'm sad now.
Well, is it getting worse? Oh, for you, it's definitely getting worse. So Ciampa, he wins, leaves, him and Thatcher kind of jack jaws. Thatcher's I had nothing to do with that. And Ciampa's of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. Like the fucking boomer that he is. Get your fucking old, bald scalp ass out of here. Fuck you. And then Cameron Grimes is just hey, I'm talking to you. Don't you ever. And then, Grimes want to start something, but Thatcher just picks his ankle and seemingly, twists his ankle, leaving Grimes in pain. It's funny because in a way I have the exact opposite reaction to Grimes turning face as I did to Swerve potentially turning heel. I do think, I've already told you, and I think I even said on 5v5 when I did rank Grimes, this dude is top babyface potential. Here's the problem. If he's a comedy babyface, I feel like that limits him some. Because it's not even that comedy babyfaces can't main event. I actually believe that they can when you have the in-ring ability of a Cameron Grimes. It's just that I don't think WWE believes that a comedy guy can main event. I mean, hell, if you look at it, we thought big things were going to happen for Big E, right? I'm not saying Big E's a comedy wrestler, but the dude's charismatic as fuck, and he's genuinely funny, both on Twitter and on the mic. And, look at where he is now that they split him up with his best friends. I think WWE just has this idea, if you make people laugh or whatever, we like our main eventers to be serious. That's why they got people chiseled out of granite like Roman and Drew, who deserve to be there. That's not me being they don't deserve to be there, but you can see the contrast. So if Grimes goes babyface, which I'm oh man, imagine the bangers he could have, the underdog story he could have going up to the NXT title. They'll never let him get fucking close to that to me.
Yeah.
So, to me, while I'm excited about Grimes potentially being babyface, I also have this ambivalence about it because I'm okay, does that give you card mobility? No? Then get the fuck out of my face. That's really honestly where I'm at. So, yeah. We get a
So
Raquel Gonzalez promo.
Oh, not as depressing as this, though. God damn.
And that's why I said it was going to get worse for you, because I know you really are not liking this at all.
Yeah.
And she more or less says, like, oh, Dakota said that she's not going to be able to compete for a while, and, she blamed Ember Moon for that. And she said, when I get done with Ember Moon, she's going to regret ever coming back to NXT. So, and she also mentioned that, like, she felt like she really shined in War Games and that she deserves an NXT Women's Championship match. And if you strain your ear hard enough, I'm sure you could hear my core in the commentaries. Oregon is just cringing at the thought. But then after that promo, we get another Boa and Zaya vignette. I continue to love these, man. It's so funny because if I'm being truthful, the next 3 segments, it's funny how this show was structured, because the next 3 segments after the Raquel promo, I loved and were the highlight of NXT to me. Like, absolutely. Like, I actually really enjoyed all 3 of these in different ways. So the Boa Zaya vignette, you see Boa getting caned, and Zaya kind of training with strikes on one of those things where it's like they got the pieces of wood, the pegs of wood, like jutting out, and you have to do the strikes on them until like her hands are bleeding and shit. So it's like really intense training. The old man's kind of overseeing it as like, hit him harder, to Zaya go faster, strike faster. They're both exhausted, they're whatever. But then you see a shift where I don't think the caning is affecting Boa as much.
Yeah, it was like they were becoming immune to the pain.
They were beating the weakness out of them. I mean, to put it in a way that I think they would phrase it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you just get another close-up of the woman's eyes that's leading it all. I've been kind of hard on NXT tonight, or even just kind of meh, and it was a genuinely good episode, I guess, for the narrative things that they put forward. But when they do things well, I do have to go out of my way to praise them. This is an undercard story, and I think it's one of the best stories in NXT for me right now, and it's purely just vignette. Well, not purely vignettes, because we have to keep in mind before this, Zaya was losing matches, then she got the letters, and then Boa got beat up by Raquel. So there has been build to this outside of the vignettes, but it's really grabbed my interest, and it's kept it. You just have to stick the landing. If they can stick the landing, this will be a really strong way for NXT to close out the year, at least as far as their undercard goes. And I want to get excited about undercards in WWE because... but yeah, do you have any thoughts about this?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. This was a really interesting thing that I even have in my notes. No new developments here regarding the leader, but they're getting put through the ringer and showing serious toughness.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want you to talk about this first, though, because I do have thoughts I want to share, but I definitely want to pick your brain. I feel like I haven't let you talk a lot in this review, and I apologize for that.
Oh.
We have the Garganos cut a promo. We get an introduction to their faction, formerly known as The Way.
Yeah.
I like it. How do you feel, dude?
I dug this. I actually liked this. Is liked the right word there? I also liked this. Yeah, that's the right word. God, I'm having a weird English day. But yeah, I'm digging it. I think this was actually like one of the best things that anything Gargano related has done in months.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to be honest.
Can I just say that Austin Theory ruins fucking everything? He's a garbage performer.
Dude, I hate him so much. I think even the Garganos, it's like, if they adopted him, which I guess in a way they did metaphorically speaking, they are having some buyer's remorse. The Milky Way. Shut the fuck up, Austin.
I know. And then, give us a fucking, and he tries doing the peck pops like a douche.
God, like... But see, here's the funny thing.
He really is that much of a dumbass that he thought popping his pecs would make like fucking Congo drum sounds. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like, let's just put Austin Theory to the side, where he should always live.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we leave him there?
Yeah, we're leaving him there, and he's not eating tonight because he sucks. Gargano's starting to come back around for me. And I'm telling everybody this now to get their bodies ready, because there's a good chance that if he keeps this up, like, he'll be on my Fave 5. I have a saying on here.
I don't think he'll be on my Fave 5, but he's definitely coming back around for me, too.
Like, I've said on here, and it's funny because I don't want people to think that it was a scumbag exclusive thing, because it's a very real defect in my personality. I love douchebags. Like, when you just know that you're better than another person, and you revel in that shit, and especially when you do it comedically, it's kind of funny. Like, it's kind of funny. That's why, like, yeah, I vibe with this. Like, he's so extra, dude. Like, in everything. And, like, I'll give a perfect example just to kind of make this more concrete. So, I know this is a bit later in the promo, but he tells Candice, who he calls, like, the queen of war games. or miss War Games. Like,
is he even wrong though? Like, let's not forget that Candice was by herself on a team with only Rhea Ripley last year after 2 members were taken out because one of them betrayed the other, and they still fucking won.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I love that the heel gets to brag, and yet he really hasn't said anything objectively wrong. They even pointed something out to me because I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that Candice has won War Games 2 years in a row, and I thought that was really cool that the heels pointed that out. But he gets her this trophy. He's like, imported from Italy. Same day shipping. You know how much that costs?
Overnight shipping. Overnight shipping.
Yeah. You know how much that costs in Italy? Like,
so good.
He's so extra in everything. Yeah. I love it. I can't lie. That's why I'm telling you guys now.
And then he gives Candice a trophy, and it's got a little like doll of Nazi Blackheart on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
and they have a new catchphrase: "If you're not in the way, get out of the way."
Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love how the look on his face when him and Austin Theory high five without even looking at each other, which kind of like, you guys didn't even look. And I'm like, okay, so Austin Theory is garbage again in the corner. You're not eating tonight, but everybody else though, yeah, I like this. Candice even, who I've been kind of meh on, I think her in a manager role and her getting the win at War Games, I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to see you as NXT Women's Champion relative to the people we're working with on the roster. Like, obviously, dude, I want Shotzi to be the next champion. I adore fucking Shotzi. But Candice just being a part of the way, and I will say what I would be cool with, I would have no problem, dude, with her and Indy being Women's Tag Team Champions. Honestly, I would love that. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's kind of where I park my car at the moment. But it's cool, man. It's a funny fucking faction. They're honest, which makes them credible because, again, Johnny was right. He is now a 3-time North American champion. Candice did win War Games 2 years in a row. And the ceremony was so extra, and the whole drum roll thing, which you already noted, like, Indy really didn't want to try because, like, Indy knows, like, I'm going to stay in my lane. I got it good with them. Austin Theory, the just perpetual tool, is just like, oh, let me do it. And, like, God, I can't get over that Milky Way line. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, read the fucking room.
Dude, I don't know if he can read, much less a room.
Yeah, it's like, was that funny, Dad? I said Milky Way. Like, no, shut the fuck up. I'm serious.
I wonder if the joke is just that they're all white or what.
Maybe. God, Austin Theory is such great promotional material for why you should get a vasectomy or why you should go on the peel or just any, like, contraceptive or just non-child measure.
Look, at the end of the day, the common theme is don't have kids, people.
Exactly, because you could end up with Austin Theory, this phallic-faced fuck who isn't even that funny.
Bro, yeah. I just saw Indy Hartwell and Austin Theory are a year apart in age, and they were both born in August. How weird is that?
That is weird. You know what else is weird? We have 2 dislikes on this video, so Austin Theory must have made 2 accounts. I don't fucking apologize.
I mean, maybe it's Austin Theory and his dad.
Yeah. They're making fun of me. And then his surrogate dad, Johnny Gargano's just listening like, not wrong, but, none of my business.
I don't have enough emotional attachment to this kid to want to go, like, dislike a video for someone else.
That is the most agreement I've ever had with the Gargano way in my fucking life. Damien Priest interrupts, and he says, congrats, Johnny, you did become North American champion. That's right, I did. And Austin, congrats to you, man. Hell of a reveal. You still have that pipe? Because I'm going to shove it up your ass.
Yeah, and then he starts walking down to the ring menacingly, but he gets attacked from behind by Karrion Kross.
Yeah, and then power bombed on a platform.
Was it a platform? I thought it was a table.
I think it was like a table. It was like kind of like an elevated thing. That's really what I meant by platform. Wow, it's like some elevated thing with a cloth.
Yeah.
I actually got a worried for Priest because, yeah.
I was gonna say, I just love how Kross did that like arrive, raise hell, leave thing, but like. There was something, it was almost like a paradox. It was almost like a fucking juxtaposition or a paradox with the way that, like, he showed up, he beat the fuck out of Priest and powerbombed him through that platform, and then he just left. And, like, I wish I could say that he left casually, because that's kind of what it seemed like he was going for, but everything he does is so fucking intense that it's impossible for me to use the word casual in a way to describe Killer Kross at all.
Yeah.
There's such thing as casually intense because that's Killer Cross in this segment.
Yeah, and it's funny that I know like Javaris and Foster have both expressed now like that they don't like that Cross is back. I do. My reservation is of an entirely different order because let's not forget that you and I were pretty underwhelmed by his championship match with Keith Lee, and we thought that it could have potentially exposed Cross not being able to have long matches. If you're immediately going to make him a main eventer again, which that 100% seems to be the intention, you know, either you got to find a way to like conceal that, you know, hide the positive or hide the negatives.
Yeah.
You know, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives, or, you know, you just got to do something about that. But I am happy to see him back. I do think it's an interesting character. I love the dynamic with him and Scarlett. So I guess I won't say that I'm in a minority here. But you know, it was great to see him. I was a bit worried about Priest when he got powerbombed because I noticed a fire extinguisher by him, and I'm like, did his head hit that or did he miss? Because I honestly didn't catch the full thing, so I do hope Priest is okay. But yeah, it was a pretty gnarly looking spot. And then that actually transitions, you know, with Cross being back. He actually, you know, like you said, leaves. Scarlett's laughing as they drive off. So, you know, they're in ready to raise hell again. And then we get, oh my God, Tyler Rust, because he's being, you know, asked about, like, his involvement with Thatcher recently. And then who does he get interrupted by? Malcolm Bivens! If you guys have measured my tone all review, this is the most excited that I've gotten. And it was Malcolm fucking Bivens.
It truly is. Truly.
Yeah. And he says, you know, I've just been impressed with you and your initiative. It's time to talk business. Mackenzie, let's do lunch. And I'm like, yes, Malcolm, yes! Get you clientele that can protect your CD player at all costs.
John's literally over here like, take me, daddy.
Dude, yes. Underrated social media game. And to be honest, like, I low-key like the tag team he was managing, but him managing a singles act, especially the quality of Tyler Rust, that gets me far more excited, dude. Because, like, I'm wondering now if this is just 1 degree removed. Like, I almost wonder, and I'm being serious here, because Malcolm Bivens is a heel. Like, if anybody's seen his, like, Twitter videos and stuff, he is, like, more of a comical heel, but he's always scheming, he's always trying to do business. I wonder if he wants to represent Rust on his own merits, which is totally fine, or if he's also thinking, now I'm just a degree removed from Thatcher, who I really want because of our Evolve days together, which I told you about, Ashton, because you said the last time when I mentioned this, you weren't aware. Thatcher being Evolve champion and Bivens managing him there. So he's probably thinking, if I get to Rust, I'm that much closer to Thatcher. Or again, maybe he does just want Rust on his own terms. Totally fine if that's the case. But if all three of them can come together, oh, that's so fucking cool. Because here's the thing. If Thatcher's going to keep losing takeovers, I'd at least like to smile while it's happening. And, like, the idea that he'd be working with a guy like Malcolm would definitely do that. I fucking adore this dude. The idea that NXT has waited this long to get him back on TV, just because his tag team didn't work out because one of them was a fucking mark and decided to, like, you know, leak match results, is kind of a crime. Like, that's not Malcolm's fault at all. But, you know, pray, you know, and by the way, because he's tweeted about this, so I feel a sense of solidarity with him. It is so great to have representation on NXT of a fellow short king, and coming from a 5'2" king like myself. So praise be to Bivens, baby, representing short kings everywhere. Thank you, Malcolm.
He didn't even look that short
really
here.
Happy to have him
He's
back.
not even that much shorter than Rust or Tyler Rust.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have anything you want to say about this, about the possibilities of these two working together?
I'm excited about it for sure. I'm excited to see Malcolm at all at this point, and I'm honestly even happier that they're not keeping him with the two bigger guys, because, like, you know, while it's somewhat exciting maybe to just get some new blood infused in general, guys that we've never seen before, I mean, we weren't getting really blown away by them. Like, their beatdowns weren't exactly crisp. Like, they basically just felt like AOP all over again, maybe even a little worse. So for Bivens to be able to work with a guy who's someone that we genuinely know from New Japan Strong is fucking talented as hell, like insanely talented and like really good in the ring. Very exciting. Like this is the kind of pairing that I think works for both guys, because it gets Bivens on screen and allows him to get that mic time and camera time that we want him to get. And it gives Russ Taylor or Tyler Rust an opportunity to wrestle matches without having to talk as much. And we don't know if he's an amazing talker or not. He's probably not that great at it. So yeah, I think this is a major win-win for both guys for sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited about where this could go. Just so fucking great to have Malcolm back on TV. So with that said, we've got a few more things to talk about here. I realize my note-taking stopped at the main event because I never really go that extensive for the most recent thing. Dunn versus Dane. You already kind of touched on this in the opening kind of heat of the night thing. Just pushing the wrong people and just this being like, I think you said the most boring match of the night to you.
Well, I basically just said one of the two. I can't decide whether I want to call it this or the three-way tag match.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, to Dunn's credit, like, I enjoyed Dunn's half of this for the most part. I like how he's been working since coming back and being a heel.
Yeah.
I just don't care about Killian Dane at all.
No.
So I'm just going to fast forward, and, Dane seemed to be in control, even like he might have been about to win, but then Oni and Birch come out. They trying to distract him, but then Maverick comes out and he fends him off. He even gets a steel chair. And then Maverick, being the fucking dork that he is, he's like, "Hey, Dane, I got him. Did you see that? I got him." And then he gets plunged from behind because, he didn't keep his head on a swivel. I mean, have you never listened to, the Usos or Samoa Joe for that matter? Listen to the fucking Samoans, Maverick. They know. And then when Dane tries to get back in the ring after helping Maverick, fending those guys off, Dunn pretty much field goal kicks him in the face, and I was even thinking Chad McAfee taught him that whole kick that he got. I'm like, damn, that was a thing of beauty. Yeah. And then he got the bitter end, so Dunn does get the win, and he kind of rejoins Birch and Lorcan. I still fear that because Birch and Lorcan, and I mean no disrespect to Oni, the dude is really good in singles, and I love the intensity that he brings, but they are kind of a lower tier tag team like we already talked about. Yeah. I'm hoping that Maverick and Dane aren't the next tag team champions, because here's the thing. GYV, you and I already disagreed about what exactly they're supposed to be, and that's a problem, because I don't know what NXT sees.
Yeah, they have an identity crisis, right?
Exactly, because I see them as babyfaces right now. You see them as heels. And if they're heels, that might be a good thing, because if Dane and Maverick win, I mean, they're fucking pickings for GYV, I feel like. However, if they're babyfaces and they get prioritized, or Dane and Maverick, I should say, get prioritized over GYV, that's going to make me groan. That's going to make me just be like, oh, Jesus Christ. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, Dane and Maverick are not done with Dunn or the tag team champions, so we'll have to see what develops from that. Leon Ruff, we already kind of talked about this, gets told, Priest is going to be, out. What are you going to do about the tag team match next week? And then Gargano's like, oh, yeah, he's shooting arrows in his hospital bed. Pew, pew. And it's just like, again, Johnny being so extra fucking hilarious.
Yeah. By the way, Drake Maverick is quite a bit shorter than Malcolm Bivens, actually.
Oh, well, I know I was saying about solidarity and Short King sticking together, but, no.
Bivens is actually, right around the same height as, Gargano and Bryan.
So, former WrestleMania main eventer and the current North American champion. Fucking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true, but I'm sure he's also the same height as a bunch of losers that we just don't know about because they're losers. So let's maybe not try and associate height with being a winner.
I mean, take that up with Malcolm Bivens, bruh. But
anyway, I'm just saying, Malcolm Bivens is 5'8", Drake Maverick's 5'4".
But yeah, more or less Gargano says could be, a 2-on-1. Leon actually doesn't seem opposed. He smiles. He seems like, oh yeah, I'll rise to that challenge. But then again, Kushida comes in, says, if you need a partner, I'm in. And they fist bump, and it's whatever. Then we get our main event, Raquel versus Ember. Again, not much to say here. I know you hated it. You hated everything about it because Ember worked her ass off, which for the record, she did. She absolutely worked her ass off in this. And wasn't enough. Raquel gets her one-arm powerbomb on Ember. And, I will say, the booking, the presentation of the match really went out of its way to make Raquel look great. Look like $1 million, overpowering Ember to return. Ember selling was on point. It really is amazing to me that when she came back, you and I were salivating over an Ember Moon versus EO matchup, and I don't think we've ever been further away from that prospect than we were after tonight.
It's really depressing, dude.
I mean, am I being hyperbolic in that?
No, you're being accurate, which is why it's depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, like, after losing to Raquel Gonzalez, like, and I know, again, some people in our chat have been like, I'm already sick of Ember or whatever.
I don't feel that at all. Like, I know that there are people in the chat that just don't like Ember, or maybe they like her as a performer, don't like her as a person, or whatever. I don't really know enough about her as a person to not like her. I think that some people might have taken some issue with some comments that she had about Sasha and Bailey over the summer. I didn't really read into that too much. I just know that she's a fucking amazing in-ring performer, and right now in NXT, that's all I really care about. And I want to see more of her matches, and I want to see her wrestle matches against better quality opponents, especially better quality than the shit she had to deal with tonight, because Raquel Gonzalez is fucking garbage.
Yeah, and that garbage isn't going anywhere. And we close NXT on a bit of a weird note because Rhea Ripley's music hits, and they pretty much have a stare down. And now I'm feeling like Raquel is going to get her win back over Rhea.
Yep.
Because, that'll really establish contendership. And then we do Raquel versus Io. And I'm like, you've got...
Do you think that's going to happen at New Year's Evil, or do you think they're going to wait till TakeOver to do that? Do you think they're going to do...
Dude, I fucking hope they just do it at New Year's Evil.
I was going to say, do you think they're going to do Rhea Raquel at New Year's Evil so that they can do Raquel Io at the TakeOver?
God, I hope not. Honestly, I would just hope that... Because let's see. Hold on. Before I say anything, let me just get my ducks in a row here. I would want them preferably to do Raquel and Rhea on the 23rd. And you get that out of the way.
Right.
And then you do Io and Raquel in 2 weeks after, because they love 2 weeks for a lot of their TV title fights on New Year's Evil, January 6th. That's, to me, is how you would do it. You do...
That would be nice. I think that's a little bit wishful thinking, but I just hope you're right, man. I really do.
Yeah, I really don't want this to be a TakeOver matchup. Like, Io Shotzi is TakeOver worthy. Yeah. Io Ember is TakeOver worthy.
Yeah.
Hell, for as much as we've already seen it, we didn't see it as much. I would probably even defend the idea if they wanted to do Candice Io. Again, if we didn't already see it so much as TakeOver worthy, because Candice is a higher profile wrestler, more well known. Raquel Io, no, you put that shit on TV. That's where you put it.
Again, though, dude, it's what scares me is that, like, they've already pushed Raquel this far, and we wouldn't have done that if it was us. So obviously we don't know exactly how highly they think of Raquel. And the thing about her that scares me is that she's a legacy. Her dad was a wrestler. He probably worked for Vince at some point. We know how strong nepotism is in this company. I would not be surprised if they put her on a fucking TakeOver.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's absolutely fair. I guess we'll have to see what they decide to do, but for now, it definitely seems like she's going to get her win over Rhea back sooner rather than later. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. With that said, let's get to our next segment, high spots and low shots.
Yep.
I'm just going to say, just by pure kayfabe, my high spot is...
No, low shot first.
Oh, low shot first, excuse me. Low shot, fuck, Ember Moon. Her team lost at War Games, and she lost on NXT tonight. It is rough for Ember Moon.
Oh, man, you said rough. I wish Leon Ruff would have had a really bad night, so I could have called him out and just gone with the flow. But I can't. But my low shot is going to be Cameron Grimes. He's coming off a big L. He took a big L tonight to Champa, and then he tried to pick a fight with Champa, or tried to pick a fight with Thatcher, and he took another fucking L. God damn it.
Yeah, it's not good. Just the same way that Ember's never been further away from the NXT Women's Championship, Cameron Grimes has never been further away from the fucking moon. God damn it, I hate it so much. High spot. I'm just going to make it really easy. Karrion Kross. I mean, to come back in not necessarily a major way, because I feel like that would have been attacking Finn more than anything, but he did make his presence felt, powerbombing Priest after Priest was talking shit. No doubt Finn and Kross are on a carrying... I was going to say on a carrying course. On a collision course. So yeah, Kross is my high spot. Who's your high spot?
My high spot is The Way.
Yeah, I love it. Excellent. All right, guys. With that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW. The best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my coordinate combination. Guys, Be sure to like the video as you file out. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Be sure to comment down below when this video is done processing. Talk to us. Who do you think will be the next challenger for the North American Championship? Who do you think in this class contenders will challenge Finn Balor for the NXT Championship? What do you think about the Way as a faction? And what do you think about the state of the NXT Tag Team division? Would you say our assessment was spot on? Would you say we're a bit too hard on it? Give your reasons why. We'd love to be in a dialogue with you. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell icon so you never again miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. Check out everything we're a part of in the description box down below, including our Twitter handles. Ashton's pinned tweet is the TWitWoW schedule for the month of December. You're definitely going to want to take a look at that because this week is looking pretty interesting to say the least. And my pinned tweet is to collect Q&A questions. Q&A will be December 31st. In fact, December 31st is huge because we're doing Q&A and TWitWoW year-end awards. 31st is going to be one of the biggest commentary days in, really, to me, TWitWoW history, because quantitatively, it's only 2 commentaries, but qualitatively,
it's like 8 hours.
Long. Yeah, and it's going right into 2021. I mean, we're doing Q&A on the 31st at 4 p.m., guys, because we know we go longer, and then year-end awards is at 7, and that's going to go a good bit.
The current plan is to try and get Q&A in on under 3 hours, which we've been pretty good about lately, especially because we haven't been getting as many questions. And I think we're both kind of expecting year-end awards to go past midnight, so we'll be able to celebrate the new year with all of y'all if you're here live.
Absolutely. So that's the 31st, but as far as this week goes, I can almost certainly guarantee our Stardom live reactions for the December 6th show. I just looked. They do have the 4th matchup. They still don't have the complete show up, though. I do expect that before I would go to bed.
Within the hour, probably, yeah.
Yeah. So that's still going to be 5 tomorrow, Ashton, because I know Thursday's blank. Yep. So 5 p.m. tomorrow. Friday, we've got the SmackDown review at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Saturday, we are doing the Super J Cup from New Japan. Ashton, you don't have a time listed on this. Did you want to talk about that with me?
Well, the reason I don't have a time listed is because I don't know if that's going to be a show that like happens at 6 o'clock in the morning and we just have to live react to it like, in the afternoon, like 5 or 6, or if that's going to be one of those shows because it takes place in the U.S. that streams live on New Japan World at like 8 o'clock in the evening. I just don't know how that works. I don't know anything about it.
Right. Okay. I didn't even know it was happening in the U.S. That's a very interesting.
Well, yeah, that's why they are able to get like guys like Leo Rush and Chris Bay to be in it because it's in the U.S. They didn't have to fly anyone out or have them do quarantine or anything like that.
Yeah. So if it is a live thing, it'll probably be like a more of a later commentary, guys. I would hope we would have this figured out by Friday after our SmackDown review.
But I don't make any promises. I thought we would maybe figure it out the day of if worst case scenario.
Yeah, we always get to you guys when things are happening. I'll always do a mass tag or whatever. Those of you that are New Japan fans and then like us for our New Japan content, we will keep you in the loop. I promise. So we are.
Hey, if anybody knows how they handled the Super J Cup the last time they did it, which I think might have even been last year, if you actually remember whether that was like, whether that aired in Japan time or if that aired on New Japan World or how in the world that was like a thing, whether they just like put it up on New Japan World that they did with the way that they did with New Japan Strong, where that would just kind of drop at 10 p.m. every night. Let us know, please. And more importantly, maybe let us know the time so that I can put something on the next schedule that I put up, because the next schedule that I put up is also going to have corrected Stardom times on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody hears anything, let us know. If we're the first ones to hear of it, obviously we'll get back to you guys accordingly. So that's Saturday, and then Sunday there is nothing because TLC still isn't for a good bit. That's actually the following week, which we'll be previewing. That's Saturday, then December 19th.
Yeah, we're reviewing each of the next 3 main roster WWE shows. This week's SmackDown and the next week's Raw and SmackDown. We're reviewing all of them.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting next 2 weeks, guys. Until then, I've already gone through everything, so be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Keep staying safe out there. I know things are still chaotic, but things are developing every day. And until then, guys, until we meet again, tune in and peace out.